Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something interesting happening up in Alberta with their trade approach towards the U.S.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster.
So just over a month back, Premier Danielle Smith's government, they came up pretty strong, didn't they? Basically said, look, we're not buying American goods and services anymore.
That's right. It was a very direct policy. They pointed to broken trust over U.S. tariffs, and it wasn't small scale meant for government, agencies, even schools, municipalities.
Right, the whole public sector, essentially. A real hard line. What was the thinking there, really? Just pushback.
Well, yeah, partly pushback. It's a kind of unusual for a provincial government to tie procurement so directly to an international trade spat.
Yeah.
They were definitely using their purchasing power as a lever, trying to show the U.S. tariffs had real consequences on the ground.
Okay, that makes sense. It certainly made headlines, but, well, things change fast, apparently. Now, the Alberta government is saying, hold on, we're pausing that policy.
Exactly, a pause.
And the reason. Service Alberta Minister Dale Nally said it's because the Trump administration has put a hold on further tariffs.
He framed it as being in the spirit of diplomacy.
So, wow. And that's quite the turnaround in, what, just over a month?
It really highlights how fluid these trade situations are. You see a potential shift from your trading partner, and strategies can adjust really quickly. It looks like a tactical move, maybe seeing that tariff hold as a chance to, de-escalate things a bit.
But hang on, it's not a complete reversal, is it? I read the ban on American liquor and video lottery terminals, VLTs.
That stays.
Correct. Those specific items are still off limits for government purchase. And they've tied that specifically to needing a new North American Free Trade Agreement renegotiated.
So selectively keeping some pressure points.
That seems to be the strategy. Ease the broad restrictions because of the tariff pause, but keep these specific sectors restricted. Maybe there are strong domestic options, or perhaps it's just, well, strategic. And this is all going on while we're seeing this bigger trend, right? Canadians actually wanting to buy more Canadian products.
Absolutely. There's definitely a buy local sentiment building.
Alberta even launched its own campaign for that, didn't they?
They did. So you've got this government policy doing a 180, well, maybe a 140.
Okay. Yeah.
While consumers might be heading in the opposite direction towards more local buying, it's an interesting mix.
So how does this fit into the bigger picture, like the whole Canada-U.S. trade thing?
Well, it's not happening in a vacuum. This tariff situation, it's still affecting steel, aluminum, cars. Even with CSMA covering a lot, things outside that agreement face duties. Canada has its own counter tariffs, remember? And other provinces have taken steps too, non-tariff measures. Alberta's initial ban was part of that whole reaction.
Okay.
So this pause is just the latest move in that ongoing, let's call it a trade chess game.
And what about the reaction inside Alberta? Not everyone's happy with this pause, I gather.
No, the opposition NDP critic Rhiannon Hoyle, she came out quite strongly, called it a lack of leadership, basically said it doesn't help local businesses.
Ouch.
Yeah, and she even framed it as choosing Team Trump over Team Canada. Pretty strong language.
That definitely highlights a totally different view on how to handle this. Protect local business versus maybe easing trade friction.
It really brings up that question. What was the main goal of the ban in the first place? Was it just hitting back at the U.S.? Or was it meant to really boost Alberta companies? The NDP clearly feels this pause hurts that second goal.
Okay, so let's recap quickly. Alberta put a big halt on buying U.S. stuff because of tariffs. Now, because the U.S. paused more tariffs, Alberta's paused most of its ban.
Right, but keeping restrictions on certain things like liquor and VLTs.
And this is all happening with trade tensions still simmering, people maybe buying more local, and political disagreement on the right path forward.
Exactly. It's a dynamic situation.
It really is. Gives us something to chew on. So here's a final thought maybe. When trade policies and even what people want to buy shift this quickly, how does that impact government planning? And what about businesses and just, well, us? What are the sort of longer-term ripples from these policy U-turns on local jobs, or even just our relationship across the border? Lots to consider there. Thanks for diving deep with us today.